Very much, and good morning to everyone. And it is indeed a good morning as Mayor Demings has completed his third State of the County address, recognizing the challenges ahead and the successes to replicate. The mayor is joined by Commissioner Nicole Wilson. All six are here. Commissioner Christine Moore, Commissioner Myra Uribe, Commissioner Maribel Gomez-Cadero, Commissioner Emily Bonilla, and Commissioner Victoria P. Siplin. The mayor will make a few brief comments, and then we'll take your questions. Mayor?
All right, thank you, Dr. Williamson, and let me just begin by saying thank you to my colleagues from the Board of County Commission. We have had a challenging year, and our Board of County Commissioners have had to come together, perhaps like no other time, to ensure that our residents have been taken care of. What you heard today was really a summary of a lot of work, a lot of platitudes, but there was really no way that during the period of time that we had today that we could adequately recognize all those who deserve recognition in our community. The goal was to make certain that the multiple community partners felt that we honored them today, and especially those men and women who have been on the front lines now for the last year. We are in a much better place this year than we were last year. When I delivered the State of the County last year, I did it and that hall was empty and it was all virtual. But the fact that we now have nearly 60% of our eligible population inoculated against the novel coronavirus called COVID-19 is pretty phenomenal. It's a different place and time than we were last year. And so clearly, I believe you heard that our economy is now re-engaged fully with a number of shows that we have booked here at the Convention Center. There's a beehive of activity going on right now here in the facility that signifies that people want to travel again, people want to come and visit our community. We want to quickly get back to the 75 million people who were coming here pre-pandemic. And we can't do that without really having a wonderful partnership with our healthcare providers, our social service providers, our public sector, and our private sector stakeholders in this community. So what I'm going to do at this point is open it up for any questions. They don't just have to be for me. Any of our commissioners can certainly respond to any questions as well. We tried to give you a flavor across the entire county of some of the successes that we've had in the last year. And so we inserted and included the work that our commissioners are doing, the wonderful work that they are doing in our community in this narrative today. I began the narrative by saying that this narrative will be more about triumph over defeat. And I feel that we've been to hell and back. But we defeated COVID in this community with where we are now. So with that, we'll open it up for any questions.
Mayor Demings, first of all, congratulations on a great State of the County here today. You made a big announcement here announcing Phase 3 beginning tomorrow. Can you explain how that's going to work, and what do you want businesses and people in the community to know about what Phase 3 will feel like in the community with all restrictions lifted?
I mentioned to you all during the presentation that we did 135 press events. The goal was to keep our citizens informed, well informed, and that required communication and giving guidance on a regular basis. And throughout the past year, that's what we endeavored to do. So with the phased approach that we announced a few months ago, my goal was to give guidance to our community about how and when we would return to some sense of normalcy. The fact that we are approaching 60% or better of our residents who have been vaccinated now puts us in a good place to say that we can now return to some sense of normalcy. The fact that our 14-day positivity rate has been below 5% signifies that we have well contained the virus within our community. And if we are vaccinated and the virus is contained, there really is no reason why we should not return to some sense of normalcy. So the phase 3 was to say to our community that if you have been fully vaccinated, that there would be no mandates from Orange County government that will require you to wear facial coverings indoors or outdoors. There are, however, CDC guidelines that still remain in place, and business entities and different entities such as the schools, they have the authority to make their own decisions. You as individuals, our residents, have the opportunity and the privilege to make decisions about whether or not they wear facial coverings or not. But there are no mandates here within Orange County at this point. And so we're simply giving guidance. We believe that we will see some adjustments in our community with the wearing of facial coverings. But if you don't feel safe not wearing a facial covering, perhaps you have not been inoculated. And if you have not been inoculated, this is a tourist center. People are coming here from all over the world, coming from all over the country, and they very well may bring variants into the area. And if they do, if you have not been inoculated, you really should consider, if your doctor or physician says that you are eligible, we want our residents to consider getting inoculated. So we're still going to stay focused on continuing our efforts to vaccinate and test people in our community for free through the use of the various funding that we have here within Orange County.
Mayor, you mentioned relaunching the transportation sales tax initiative once the economy is fully recovered. Do you have any estimate of when that might be? And also, do you have any concerns about getting the same level of support that you had before and that you need for this now that we've had this pandemic?
I am very, very optimistic about the potential that the sales tax can be part of the solution to solving some of our transportation woes in this community. We have continued to grow, and nearly 1,000 new residents a week moving into Orange County. It didn't slow down during the pandemic, by the way. We are now at 1.4 million people. It is estimated that by 2050, another 700,000 people will have moved here. If we do not begin to plan now to address the transportation infrastructure needs, we all should pay for that. I believe that I don't have a crystal ball, so I can't say precisely when our economy will fully recover. But where we are now is a great indication that it won't be long. I don't believe it's not going to be 2 years or 3 years or 5 years. I believe we're talking about a matter of months before our local economy is firing on all cylinders. Given the fact that we are open, we have 84 shows booked here at the convention center before the end of the year, and growing, by the way, that brings in hundreds of millions of dollars of economic impact into our community. I am certain that within perhaps within the next year, we may be able to bring back the sales tax initiative. We can only put it on the ballot during a general election, so the next general election is 2022. I am optimistic that we will be able to put it on the ballot in 2022. I'm committed to ensuring that we address that, because I don't believe that we can adequately address the housing challenges if we don't address the transportation challenges. I don't believe that we can adequately address the environmental issues if we just continue to build roads and take up green space. I believe that we have to look at mass transit and a multimodal solution to our transportation woes that we have now. So hopefully that gives you an idea. We're watching very carefully. Will we have to start over from scratch? No. We will hit the ground running, because we had done a lot of proactive work to get input from our residents. I know that the residents of Orange County wanted, the majority of them, I would say, wanted the sales tax and would have supported it. How do I know that? Because we polled it. And there have been additional polls that others have done since then, because the sales tax, with addressing the infrastructure, is an economic engine in and of itself that brings high-wage jobs into the area, because you have to have architects, engineers, construction workers, entrepreneurs who are working on those types of efforts.
Mayor, you and the governor have not always have been on the same page when it comes to recommendations for pandemic responses. Do you think that sometimes lack of coordination has slowed down any progress we've made to reach today where we phase 3?
Well, it's a good question, but ideally, there should be good collaboration across all levels of government, federal, state, and local, in order to get the best results for our residents who are not just Orange County residents, they're residents of the state of Florida. They're residents of our great nation. It requires collaboration across the line. I have endeavored to improve the communication between myself and the governor, and I will remain focused on that. Has it slowed us down? No, because we get to wrestle with these issues every day. It's not a partisan issue about whether or not your garbage is about whether or not your garbage is being picked up or not. I did a lot of talking today, so. Yeah. But so it's not a partisan issue. It's really about a quality of life issue for our residents. And so we will continue to wrestle. If you ask my colleagues, has it stopped them from doing their job? I don't think so. They continue. It hasn't stopped me. I have, fortunate where I am in my career, I can be very independent. I can make decisions without regard to the political impact. I'm going to make my decisions on behalf of the people.
So you don't think that any lack of coordination affected getting to that phase 3 goal?
We worked around it. We worked around all of that. I'd like to say that I ignored some of the noise, but sometimes it was very hard to ignore the noise. But we worked around it, and we have been successful.
Mr. Mayor, and this is also the commissioners behind you, what concerns do you have about perhaps being on the ballot at the same time, the sales tax increase?
You mean about running for re-election? I am going to run for re-election in Orange County, so I try to put that to bed. I get asked about that all the time, about will I seek higher office. I'm going to run for re-election in Orange County. Right now, my focus has been on dealing with the pandemic and not a re-election campaign. But obviously, I will kick off a re-election campaign in the not too distant future. And I'll let our colleagues here. Any one of you want the question that he asked?
Not on the ballot.
No.
Okay. Not on the ballot.
Some of them not on the ballot. Any of those of you who are on the ballot in 2022, I'm not. I just feel like, I've been doing public service. I've been in public service for 40 years. Timing is everything. I've always had impeccable timing. I believe the time is right now to advance this issue when our economy is in full recovery. Okay, I suspended the effort because it just, I want to be in a position where the majority of the people who are going to pay for the sales tax are our visitors. And we have to wait until the visitors are back in order to make that, I think, the best proposition on behalf of all the residents of Orange County.
Mayor, you mentioned unemployment being at 5.6% in Orange County. Yet when you go around to restaurants in our community, you still see a lot of help wanted signs. Are you continuing to hear from businesses that still need workers like we have been hearing over the last month, or do you see the improvement?
I meet or talk with business owners every day, and there's good news and bad news there. What is happening here in our market space are our wages going up. Our employers, especially those in the service industry, are offering all types of incentives to workers. That's a good thing for our workers. Many of them are now offering a sign-in bonus. If you sign up, and you stay there for 2 months, you get $500. You get a contribution towards child care expenses. Some of them, the minimum wage that our workforce is hiring at now is gone to $15 an hour, essentially the living wage. So that's good news for our community. The pandemic, so that's one of those positive things that turned out, I think, from the pandemic. It has driven our wages up. And some people are waiting for the appropriate time. They're waiting for school, their children to be able to go back to school because they have childcare issues. I believe our schools this summer are going to be reopened. I believe that in the fall, our schools will be reopened, and that will allow parents the flexibility to go back to work. So I believe by the fall, as we get through the summer, I believe that our unemployment rate, as you heard today, is 5.6%, when it had been much higher, 22.6%. But it's going to go even lower as we move forward in the next 60 days.
Mayor, talk about the significance of receiving those 7 National Association of County Awards.
So that's recent, by the way. The National Associations of Counties will have their annual conference in the Maryland, D.C. area next month. And we will go and we will pick up our awards. But 7 different categories, Orange County. There are over 3,000 counties in the nation. And Orange County received 7 awards out of those 3,000 counties. So it's pretty phenomenal. That's because of the creativity, the innovation by which we use to approach the delivery of services in this last year. So it's an affirmation of the great work that our county is doing, comparatively speaking, across local governments.
One last question.
Jerry Deming, since
What news station are you with?
Quick question I'd ask. Is there any possible way you could get all the commissioners together with yourself saying that Orange County is a great place to live and we're open for business in front of the camera? Would you all do that? Orange County is a great place to live and we're open for business.
You're the leader.
All right. Orange County is a great place to live, and we're open for business. All right, one last question. You gotta love him. I bought a car from this guy a few years ago. He's a wonderful salesman, by the way. He can sell you swampland. All right.
Ryan Lynch with the Orlando Business Journal about the transportation sales tax. He wanted to be clear, is it likely to be on the 2022 ballot, or is there still a chance it could be missed?
It's a chance that we will miss it, but I think it's a greater probability that it will be on the ballot in 2022.
Can I get this question in? Aren't you open for an attack from the right if you come in with all that tax?
Yes, but let me tell you something. One language that people understand and one color that they understand is green. There's a lot of money that will be made, a lot of investment to be made through the sales tax initiative. I've looked across the spectrum, and people are supporting it, regardless of whether they are D's or R's or whatever political affiliation that they have, because that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the quality of life in this community that impacts every one of us. And if you live here, sometimes, again, I say those of us, this is where the rubber meets the road at the local level. Picking up garbage and doing all those things. Nobody cares about whether you're a Democrat or a Republican. They care about whether or not you're delivering quality service. And that's what we're trying to deliver here in this community. All right. Thank you all very much.
We're going to stay